My child, my beloved, there is an inner alignment forming between thought, intention, and action. When these elements cooperate, effort decreases while effectiveness increases. Archangel Michael says harmony within creates efficiency without pressure. You move forward without feeling pushed, guided without feeling controlled. Certain situations may now resolve without explanation. This is not avoidance, it is resolution occurring beyond your involvement. When truth has already adjusted balance, outcomes do not require your participation. Observing this teaches you when to act and when to allow. You may also sense a growing respect for your own boundaries. Not rigid walls, but clear edges that preserve peace. These boundaries are felt rather than spoken. Others adjust instinctively when clarity is present, because clarity communicates without conflict. My child, my beloved, patience has transformed into confidence that does not hurry validation. You trust unfolding because you recognize preparation already occurred. Archangel Michael says readiness removes the need for rushing. What arrives next will meet you prepared rather than catching you off guard. Notice how decision-making feels simpler. Not because choices disappeared, but because distraction dissolved. When options align with values, selection becomes obvious. Obvious does not mean easy, but it does mean correct. You may experience moments of deep calm even during activity. Calm does not require stillness, it requires alignment. Alignment allows movement without internal resistance. This state conserves energy and preserves clarity. Remain open to learning without assuming you must struggle to grow. Growth can occur gently. Archangel Michael says transformation does not always demand hardship, sometimes it flows through understanding. What comes next will integrate smoothly into your life rather than disrupt it. Integration signals maturity of timing. You are meeting opportunity at the right moment, not early, not late. My child, my beloved, a deeper coherence is forming between your inner awareness and outer movement, creating harmony that does not depend on favorable conditions. Archangel Michael says this coherence allows you to remain centered while circumstances evolve, giving you stability that travels with you rather than anchoring to specific outcomes. When steadiness becomes portable, progress follows naturally. You may sense an expanding patience that feels active instead of passive. This patience listens, observes, and responds with intention. It does not wait idly, it prepares quietly. Through preparation, confidence develops without strain, and action becomes deliberate rather than impulsive. Such readiness protects momentum from being wasted. My child, my beloved, insight is now arriving through subtle cues rather than dramatic signals. A phrase overheard, a moment of stillness, a sudden clarity while moving through routine, all serve as guidance. Archangel Michael says guidance often speaks softly because it trusts your attentiveness. The quieter it becomes, the more accurate it tends to be. Notice how emotional balance remains intact even when information is incomplete. This balance indicates trust has replaced fear as the primary driver. Trust does not eliminate uncertainty, it reframes it as a space for possibility rather than threat. From this perspective, curiosity thrives and creativity awakens. You may recognize a shift in how you invest effort. Energy now flows toward endeavors aligned with your values, while distractions lose appeal. This selective engagement preserves vitality and increases impact. When purpose directs attention, results follow with less resistance. My child, my beloved, discernment is refining communication. You choose words with care, silence with wisdom, timing with sensitivity. Archangel Michael says thoughtful expression prevents misunderstanding and nurtures respect. Through discernment, relationships evolve toward authenticity without force. There will be instances where solutions emerge during rest rather than exertion. This is not coincidence. The mind integrates information most effectively when pressure releases. Allow moments of ease to do their work. Insight often arrives when invited by relaxation. As alignment strengthens, your sense of direction clarifies further. Not every step is visible, yet the next one feels assured. This assurance guides movement without requiring a complete map. Trusting the immediate path often reveals the larger design in time. Remain receptive without becoming reactive. Receptivity gathers wisdom, reactivity disperses it. By choosing receptivity, you allow understanding to deepen before response occurs. What unfolds ahead will reflect the clarity you now carry. Progress will feel consistent, measured, and supportive. Archangel Michael says when clarity leads, outcomes follow with grace. My child, my beloved, an inner refinement is now shaping how you experience each moment, bringing order without rigidity and flow without chaos. Archangel Michael says refinement appears when lessons integrate fully, no longer needing repetition to remain understood. You are not circling the same realizations anymore, you are moving forward with them embedded into how you see, choose, and respond. You may feel a growing sense of dignity in how you carry yourself, not pride, not distance, but self-respect that arises naturally when awareness matures. This dignity changes interaction subtly. It invites sincerity, discourages misuse, and establishes balance without confrontation. Such balance preserves energy and maintains harmony across environments. My child, my beloved, there is a new rhythm guiding your actions, slower than urgency yet faster than hesitation. This rhythm reflects alignment between intention and timing. Archangel Michael says timing aligned with intention creates outcomes that do not need repair. You are learning when movement is required and when stillness serves better. Certain attachments may loosen gently without effort. These attachments are not people or things, but expectations you once carried about how outcomes should look. Releasing expectation does not diminish hope, it frees hope from limitation. Through freedom, hope expands beyond prior imagination. You may notice that listening becomes more powerful than speaking. Silence now holds clarity rather than discomfort. In silence, understanding completes itself. Archangel Michael says silence used wisely becomes instruction without sound. Soon you will notice that conversations feel different. Not because others changed their words, but because your listening has evolved. You hear intention beneath language, sincerity beneath tone, distance beneath politeness. This awareness does not burden you, it liberates you from misinterpretation. There is also a strengthening resolve developing quietly. Not stubbornness, not rigidity, but resolve rooted in clarity. You know what aligns with your values, and you no longer negotiate internally about what feels right. This certainty streamlines decisions, reducing mental fatigue. My child, my beloved, allow this resolve to guide boundaries gently. Boundaries formed through understanding do not create separation, they create respect. Archangel Michael says respect sustains harmony far longer than control ever could. You may find that motivation shifts from proving to creating. Energy once spent on justification now fuels meaningful effort. Creation thrives when the mind is unburdened by defense. What you build next will reflect this freedom. Observe how patience now feels natural rather than forced. Patience rooted in trust does not feel like waiting, it feels like readiness. Readiness positions you to respond effectively when opportunity appears. Remain aware without becoming vigilant. Awareness flows best without tension. Through relaxed attentiveness, insight continues to sharpen naturally. What lies ahead will unfold with fewer surprises because comprehension has already prepared you. Archangel Michael says preparation transforms uncertainty into opportunity. Stay centered in this state. The journey continues unfolding with quiet strength, guided by clarity that no longer needs repetition to remain true. My child, my beloved, an unfamiliar ease is beginning to accompany your awareness, not because challenge has vanished, but because inner balance has taken root. Archangel Michael says when balance forms within, outer circumstances lose the power to disturb direction. You are no longer pulled by reactions, you are led by comprehension. This shift marks a turning point that cannot be undone once recognized. You may feel a subtle confidence rising that does not seek expression through words. It exists quietly, influencing posture, tone, presence. Others may sense it without understanding its origin. This is not dominance, it is steadiness. Steadiness communicates safety, and safety attracts cooperation rather than resistance. My child, my beloved, there is an increasing clarity in how you evaluate possibilities. Choices no longer feel overwhelming because you are not trying to please multiple voices at once. Archangel Michael says clarity simplifies life by reducing unnecessary options. What remains is alignment, and alignment feels unmistakable. Notice how emotional reactions soften before forming. This pause creates space for wisdom to intervene. Wisdom does not rush, it arrives precisely when invited by stillness. Through stillness, perception widens, and through widened perception, understanding deepens. You may experience moments where gratitude appears unexpectedly, not tied to achievement or relief, but to presence itself. Presence reminds you that life is unfolding with intention even when details remain unseen. This awareness nurtures patience without effort. My child, my beloved, you are learning to trust unfolding rather than control outcomes. Control exhausts, trust sustains. Archangel Michael says trust does not ignore responsibility, it places responsibility where it belongs. You carry your part without absorbing burdens meant for others. As this trust strengthens, creativity will surface in subtle ways. Ideas form effortlessly. Solutions present themselves quietly. Inspiration flows without pressure. Creation thrives where mental clutter has cleared. Observe how your relationship with uncertainty changes. Uncertainty no longer triggers anxiety, it invites curiosity. Curiosity opens doors that fear keeps closed. Through curiosity, growth becomes engaging rather than intimidating. Remain attentive to inner signals guiding pace and direction. These signals grow clearer with use. The more you honor them, the more reliably they guide you. What unfolds next will feel coherent rather than chaotic. Coherence emerges when truth integrates fully. Archangel Michael says integration is the final step of understanding. Stay anchored in this awareness. Forward movement now carries intention, stability, and grace, unfolding exactly as needed, moment by moment. My child, my beloved, a refined sensitivity is awakening within you now, allowing you to sense direction without searching for signs. Archangel Michael says this sensitivity is not emotional fragility, it is spiritual intelligence sharpening through experience. You are noticing shifts before they fully arrive, understanding outcomes before they unfold, and this awareness grants you a quiet advantage that does not need display. You may observe that your energy no longer scatters across many concerns. Focus has narrowed naturally toward what holds meaning. This narrowing is not limitation, it is precision. Precision protects strength, and protected strength sustains momentum over long distances. When attention is intentional, progress becomes consistent. My child, my beloved, there is an inner alignment forming between thought, intention, and action. When these elements cooperate, effort decreases while effectiveness increases. Archangel Michael says harmony within creates efficiency without pressure. You move forward without feeling pushed, guided without feeling controlled. Certain situations may now resolve without explanation. This is not avoidance, it is resolution occurring beyond your involvement. When truth has already adjusted balance, outcomes do not require your participation. Observing this teaches you when to act and when to allow. You may also sense a growing respect for your own boundaries. Not rigid walls, but clear edges that preserve peace. These boundaries are felt rather than spoken. Others adjust instinctively when clarity is present, because clarity communicates without conflict. My child, my beloved, patience has transformed into confidence that does not hurry validation. You trust unfolding because you recognize preparation already occurred. Archangel Michael says readiness removes the need for rushing. What arrives next will meet you prepared rather than catching you off guard. Notice how peace begins influencing decisions before thought catches up. This is intuition refined by truth. It guides without urgency, without confusion, without force. Such guidance remains steady even when circumstances fluctuate. My child, my beloved, allow yourself to trust this internal compass. Doubt may attempt to revisit familiar territory, but it will find fewer footholds. Each moment of clarity reinforces stability, making regression less likely. Opportunities approaching now will not require compromise of values. They will align naturally with who you have become. Archangel Michael says alignment recognizes alignment. When paths match purpose, effort feels lighter. You are not meant to rush conclusions or finalize outcomes prematurely. Let unfolding continue at its own pace. What emerges through patience carries durability. What emerges through pressure often fades. Remain attentive without becoming anxious. Awareness does not require tension. It thrives in calm observation. Through calm observation, insight deepens and confidence strengthens. What was hidden has completed its lesson. What was revealed has completed its release. Ahead lies a stretch of steady progress shaped by understanding rather than uncertainty. Stay present. The journey continues unfolding with quiet grace. My child, my beloved, something deeper is settling now, a sense of internal order that does not rely on circumstances behaving perfectly. Archangel Michael says this order forms when awareness finally outruns confusion. You are no longer responding from reflex, you are choosing from comprehension. That distinction changes everything, even when nothing outwardly announces the shift. Quiet mastery begins this way. You may become aware that time itself feels different, less hurried, less demanding. Moments stretch enough to allow thoughtful response instead of instinctive reaction. This is not slowness, it is presence. Presence sharpens perception, and perception prevents missteps before they occur. Heaven values this state because it protects without force. My child, my beloved, notice how trust in yourself feels steadier now. Not confidence that seeks applause, but assurance that rests comfortably without witnesses. Archangel Michael says this form of trust cannot be taken, because it was built internally, not granted externally. It will remain even when environments change. As this steadiness grows, certain fears dissolve without confrontation. They simply lose relevance. Fear feeds on uncertainty, and uncertainty no longer dominates your inner landscape. What replaces it is readiness, not anticipation, not anxiety, just readiness for whatever unfolds next. You may find yourself less interested in revisiting old narratives. Stories that once demanded retelling now feel complete. Completion does not require explanation, it requires acceptance. Acceptance does not excuse what happened, it releases its hold on your present. My child, my beloved, there is wisdom in allowing this transformation to remain quiet. Not every shift needs announcement. Some developments gain strength through privacy. Archangel Michael says what matures in silence often lasts longer than what grows under attention. Soon, choices will present themselves that feel aligned without persuasion. You will recognize them by the absence of inner conflict. When something fits, it does not argue with your values. It cooperates with them. That cooperation is your signal. Continue honoring calm over urgency. Calm is not passivity, it is precision. From precision, progress becomes sustainable. What advances now will not require repair later. Remain attentive to subtle guidance. It speaks softly but consistently. The more you listen, the clearer it becomes. This clarity will guide you through situations that once felt complex. What unfolds next will not surprise you the way past events did. Prepared awareness reduces shock. Archangel Michael says preparation does not eliminate challenges, it transforms how they are experienced. Stay grounded in this understanding. The path ahead responds to the clarity you carry, and that clarity continues strengthening with every conscious step forward. My child, my beloved, an inner composure is now guiding how you interpret signals around you, shaping responses before tension has a chance to rise. Archangel Michael says this composure was forged during unseen preparation, during moments when patience was tested without explanation. That preparation has matured into discernment, and discernment allows you to recognize meaning without chasing confirmation. When understanding settles this deeply, external noise loses influence. You may realize that anticipation no longer dominates your thinking. Instead of waiting for outcomes, you are participating in the present with full awareness. This participation brings fulfillment independent of results. When fulfillment is internal, outcomes enhance rather than define experience. Such balance prevents disappointment from anchoring itself where peace belongs. My child, my beloved, perception has expanded beyond surface impressions. You are sensing underlying currents instead of reacting to appearances. Archangel Michael says depth of perception protects against manipulation, misunderstanding, and unnecessary conflict. With this depth, you navigate situations thoughtfully, conserving energy for what truly matters. Soon you will notice that conversations feel different. Not because others changed their words, but because your listening has evolved. You hear intention beneath language, sincerity beneath tone, distance beneath politeness. This awareness does not burden you, it liberates you from misinterpretation. There is also a strengthening resolve developing quietly. Not stubbornness, not rigidity, but resolve rooted in clarity. You know what aligns with your values, and you no longer negotiate internally about what feels right. This certainty streamlines decisions, reducing mental fatigue. My child, my beloved, allow this resolve to guide boundaries gently. Boundaries formed through understanding do not create separation, they create respect. Archangel Michael says respect sustains harmony far longer than control ever could. You may find that motivation shifts from proving to creating. Energy once spent on justification now fuels meaningful effort. Creation thrives when the mind is unburdened by defense. What you build next will reflect this freedom. My child, my beloved, listen carefully and do not rush past this moment, because what is unfolding around you was never meant to remain hidden forever, and yet the timing of this revelation matters more than you realize right now. Only a short window has been opened, and within it, something spoken in secrecy has finally surfaced, something said when they believed you would never hear, something that carries weight over your future direction, your peace, and your understanding of why certain doors closed while others resisted you. Heaven is not alarming you without reason, and Archangel Michael stands close now, not to frighten you, but to steady you as truth approaches. Before you go further, pause for just a breath, and if this message is reaching you, it is not by chance. Stay with this message until the end, because alignment does not come from hearing halfway. There is clarity waiting for those who remain present, and this channel exists to bring messages meant for those who are ready to listen fully, not briefly. My child, my beloved, someone finally broke silence regarding your name, and it did not happen in public or with noise, but in a quiet moment where honesty slipped through guarded lips. What was revealed explains confusion you have felt without words, explains resistance you sensed without proof, explains why your spirit felt watched even when nothing was said aloud. Archangel Michael says this truth was delayed to protect you until strength matured within you, because hearing it earlier would have wounded rather than freed. You may think you already know what people think about you, but this is different. This was not opinion, not jealousy, not casual talk. This was acknowledgement. Someone admitted something they were never supposed to admit, and once spoken, it cannot be taken back. Energy shifts when truth is voiced, and the moment it happened, the atmosphere around you changed in ways you may already be feeling without understanding why. My child, my beloved, you are not imagining the tension lifting from certain areas of your life. You are not imagining why certain interactions feel lighter or why distance suddenly makes sense. The truth that surfaced has already begun rearranging outcomes. Archangel Michael says what was hidden kept influencing paths quietly, and now that influence is losing control. There is a reason urgency surrounds this message. Not because danger is chasing you, but because awareness changes how blessings land. If you remain unaware, you continue walking as if blindfolded. If you see clearly, choices become intentional, protection becomes active, and peace replaces confusion. Heaven never rushes without purpose. My child, my beloved, someone spoke about you with a mix of regret and realization. They finally acknowledged something they once denied, and that acknowledgement shifts accountability. Whether they intended to correct past behavior or simply unburden themselves, the result remains the same: truth has entered motion. Archangel Michael says once truth moves, delays dissolve. What you are about to understand will connect moments from your past that felt random, unfair, or unresolved. You will begin to see why certain efforts did not succeed, why certain relationships stalled, why certain opportunities paused just before completion. This was not punishment. It was containment. Protection wrapped as delay. My child, my beloved, your life has not been off track. It has been preserved. What was said about you held influence in spaces you could not access, but that influence is now exposed. Exposure does not always look loud, sometimes it looks like silence ending. If you feel drawn to stay here, it is because your spirit recognizes timing. Do not step away now. What you are about to receive is not dramatic, but it is grounding, and grounding truth restores power quietly. Archangel Michael says you are entering a phase where clarity replaces guessing. No more overthinking conversations. No more wondering why energy shifts without explanation. No more carrying weight that was never yours to hold. What surfaced belongs to the one who spoke it, not to you. My child, my beloved, the next steps in your life require clean vision. This is why this message matters now. Truth uncovered becomes a compass. Without it, you drift. With it, alignment sharpens. Someone finally spoke. Heaven heard it. You were meant to know it. And what was hidden no longer controls what comes next. Stay with this message. What unfolds next will settle your heart and steady your direction. Underscore 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 underscore. When you're ready, just reply, continue. I'll keep expanding this into a full long-form high-CTR script, maintaining engagement, mystery, spiritual depth, and retention flow exactly like your top-performing videos. My child, my beloved, as you remain here, something subtle begins to realign inside you, because truth does not arrive to disturb peace, it arrives to restore balance that was missing for too long. Archangel Michael says what surfaced was not meant to shame anyone, but to free you from carrying questions that never had answers before. The weight you adapted to quietly was never proof of strength, it was evidence of endurance, and now endurance is no longer required in the same way. You may notice memories revisiting your mind differently, moments that once felt confusing now appearing clear, not because circumstances changed, but because understanding matured. Someone finally admitted what they tried to suppress, and once spoken, it altered unseen agreements that were limiting progress around you. Heaven works through timing, not speed, and this disclosure arrived precisely when your spirit could receive it without breaking. My child, my beloved, Archangel Michael wants you to know that silence protected you until wisdom formed. What you did not hear earlier spared you from reacting emotionally instead of responding intentionally. Now you are able to move forward without bitterness, without confrontation, without needing validation. Awareness itself becomes closure. There is relief coming from places you did not expect. Conversations will feel lighter, resistance will dissolve without explanation, and doors that remained neutral will suddenly respond. This is not coincidence. This is alignment correcting itself after hidden influence lost authority. What was said behind closed doors no longer holds leverage over your direction. You may also realize that curiosity about certain matters fades naturally. This is because not all answers are required once understanding replaces speculation. Closure does not always come through conversation, sometimes it arrives through clarity that removes the need to ask. My child, my beloved, as days unfold, trust the ease you feel. Ease is not complacency, it is confirmation. When life begins responding without resistance, it signals that alignment has been restored. Continue listening inwardly rather than seeking outward confirmation. What was hidden has completed its influence. What was spoken has fulfilled its purpose. What lies ahead is not heavy, not confusing, not delayed. It is open, steady, and prepared for you. Remain present. Remain aware. The unfolding continues gently, exactly as it should. My child, my beloved, there is a calm authority forming inside you now, not the kind that seeks control, but the kind that knows when to allow life to arrange itself without interference. Archangel Michael says this authority comes from awareness settling fully into your spirit. When understanding becomes part of your identity, you no longer feel pulled to prove, explain, or defend. You simply move with certainty, and certainty reshapes surroundings quietly. You may notice that your inner dialogue has softened. Where questioning once repeated, reassurance now settles in naturally. This does not mean every situation is resolved, it means you are no longer defined by uncertainty. Confidence born from truth does not shout, it rests. That rest becomes your protection. My child, my beloved, you are stepping into a phase where your presence alone changes energy in rooms you enter. Not through words, not through effort, but through grounded awareness. Archangel Michael says when clarity becomes internal, it radiates outward without announcement. Others may feel calmer around you without understanding why. There will be times when you realize that you no longer react to things that once disturbed your peace. This is not because you stopped caring, it is because you stopped carrying what was never yours. Boundaries have strengthened invisibly, and those boundaries preserve peace without creating distance. As alignment deepens, certain opportunities will present themselves gently. Not with pressure, not with fear of loss, but with ease. When something arrives with peace, it is a sign of right timing. Archangel Michael says urgency often belongs to what is misaligned, while calm belongs to what is meant. My child, my beloved, allow this steadiness to guide your pace. Do not rush ahead of your own awareness. Let insight fully integrate before taking action. What you choose next will shape a longer chapter, and that chapter deserves decisions made from clarity rather than reaction. You may feel a subtle release from old expectations. Expectations placed by others. Expectations placed by circumstances. Expectations even placed by your past self. This release creates room for new direction that feels authentic rather than inherited. Trust that what surfaced has already done more than you can see. The unseen correction is often greater than visible change. Archangel Michael says unseen alignment builds foundations that visible success stands upon. Remain grounded. Remain steady. The quiet confidence you feel is not temporary. It is the result of truth settling fully into place, and from that place, your path becomes clearer with each step you take. The unfolding continues with purpose. Stay present. My child, my beloved, a gentle assurance is now accompanying your thoughts, like a steady companion that does not interrupt but supports each step forward. Archangel Michael says this assurance was earned through patience, through endurance without answers, through restraint when reaction would have felt easier. The moment honesty surfaced, it did not demand action, it granted permission to breathe fully again. From that breath, direction begins to organize itself. You may sense a subtle recalibration in how you interpret situations. Events no longer feel personal in the way they once did. Perspective has widened, allowing you to see patterns instead of isolated moments. This broader view dissolves unnecessary tension and replaces it with understanding. When understanding grows, fear loses its grip naturally. My child, my beloved, there is wisdom forming through observation rather than confrontation. What you witness now teaches more than arguments ever could. Archangel Michael says watching outcomes unfold without interference builds discernment that words cannot supply. Discernment protects future choices quietly. As time passes, you will recognize that emotional energy once spent on anticipation has been redirected toward creativity and purpose. This shift fuels progress without strain. When focus moves away from defense, it becomes available for construction. What you build next will be shaped by calm intention rather than reaction. Notice how peace begins influencing decisions before thought catches up. This is intuition refined by truth. It guides without urgency, without confusion, without force. Such guidance remains steady even when circumstances fluctuate. My child, my beloved, allow yourself to trust this internal compass. Doubt may attempt to revisit familiar territory, but it will find fewer footholds. Each moment of clarity reinforces stability, making regression less likely. Opportunities approaching now will not require compromise of values. They will align naturally with who you have become. Archangel Michael says alignment recognizes alignment. When paths match purpose, effort feels lighter. You are not meant to rush conclusions or finalize outcomes prematurely. Let unfolding continue at its own pace. What emerges through patience carries durability. What emerges through pressure often fades. Remain attentive without becoming anxious. Awareness does not require tension. It thrives in calm observation. Through calm observation, insight deepens and confidence strengthens. What was hidden has completed its lesson. What was revealed has completed its release. Ahead lies a stretch of steady progress shaped by understanding rather than uncertainty. Stay present. The journey continues unfolding with quiet grace. You may notice memories revisiting your mind differently, moments that once felt confusing now appearing clear, not because circumstances changed, but because understanding matured. Someone finally admitted what they tried to suppress, and once spoken, it altered unseen agreements that were limiting progress around you. Heaven works through timing, not speed, and this disclosure arrived precisely when your spirit could receive it without breaking. My child, my beloved, Archangel Michael wants you to know that silence protected you until wisdom formed. What you did not hear earlier spared you from reacting emotionally instead of responding intentionally. Now you are able to move forward without bitterness, without confrontation, without needing validation. Awareness itself becomes closure. There is relief coming from places you did not expect. Conversations will feel lighter, resistance will dissolve without explanation, and doors that remained neutral will suddenly respond. This is not coincidence. This is alignment correcting itself after hidden influence lost authority. What was said behind closed doors no longer holds leverage over your direction. My child, my beloved, understand this clearly: you were never being delayed because of weakness. Delay existed because exposure at the wrong time would have caused unnecessary loss. Archangel Michael says preservation sometimes feels like stagnation until truth emerges and reveals the reason. Stay present, because the coming phase of your life requires calm clarity, not urgency. What you learn now will guide how you respond later. Not everything needs reaction. Some revelations simply need recognition, and recognition shifts power naturally. You may feel tempted to look backward and question every moment, every interaction, every pause. Do not do this. The past served its purpose. What matters is that you are no longer operating without insight. The unseen conversation that finally surfaced has already closed a chapter without you lifting a hand. My child, my beloved, there is a quiet confidence forming inside you now. It does not shout. It does not demand explanation. It simply knows. Archangel Michael says this knowing will protect you better than confrontation ever could. What was hidden no longer shadows your path. What was whispered no longer shapes outcomes. What was delayed no longer blocks momentum. The season ahead requires steadiness, not defense. Remain open. Remain grounded. Remain aware. This message reached you because readiness arrived. My child, my beloved, something within you is settling now, not because everything has been explained, but because your spirit recognizes when a missing piece has finally returned to its place. Archangel Michael says understanding does not always arrive with details, sometimes it arrives as calm, and calm is the signal that confusion no longer governs your steps. The moment truth surfaced, an invisible pressure loosened, and from that release, space was created for movement that had been waiting patiently. You may notice that your reactions feel different than before, slower, more measured, less driven by urgency. This is not exhaustion, this is maturity meeting awareness. What once would have demanded answers now invites discernment. You are no longer pulled into emotional currents that drain strength. Instead, you are observing from steadier ground, and that shift alone changes outcomes ahead. My child, my beloved, Archangel Michael says there was a conversation you were never meant to interrupt, because its purpose was not to involve you directly, but to expose intent quietly. Intent reveals more than words spoken to your face ever could. What emerged carried truth without performance, and that is why heaven allowed it to surface now. You are stepping into a season where insight replaces suspicion. No more guessing motives. No more questioning your own perception. The inner signals you trusted were accurate, and that confirmation restores confidence without feeding ego. Humility and strength are aligning within you, and from that alignment comes clarity that cannot be shaken easily. There will be moments soon where you realize you no longer feel the need to explain yourself. This is growth. When truth becomes visible, justification loses relevance. Archangel Michael says peace is not achieved by being understood by everyone, but by understanding yourself clearly. What unfolds next will feel natural rather than dramatic. Progress will not announce itself loudly, yet you will notice forward motion without resistance. Opportunities will approach calmly. Decisions will feel lighter. Relationships will either adjust or drift without conflict. This is not loss, this is sorting. My child, my beloved, do not rush to act on what you sense. Stillness is part of wisdom. Let clarity settle fully before movement. Heaven does not demand immediate response, it invites intentional direction. What is meant for you will not require force. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where awareness needed to meet readiness. Archangel Michael says what was concealed served its purpose, and now that purpose has ended. Remain steady. Remain present. The path ahead opens quietly, and those who walk it with patience will see more than those who run. Stay with this message. What continues to unfold will deepen understanding even further. My child, my beloved, there is a gentle shift happening beneath the surface of your daily life, subtle enough to be missed by the rushed, yet powerful enough to redirect an entire future. Archangel Michael says this phase is not loud because strength no longer needs noise to prove itself. What is forming now carries stability rather than urgency, and that stability will protect what is coming next. You are being repositioned without struggle, and that alone is a sign that resistance has ended. You may feel moments where silence feels comforting instead of empty, where solitude feels grounding instead of isolating. This is because your inner world is no longer searching for answers outside. Awareness has moved inward, and from there, clarity expands naturally. When truth surfaced, it did not demand confrontation, it dissolved confusion quietly, and that quiet dissolution is far more permanent. My child, my beloved, Archangel Michael says your intuition was never wrong, it was simply early. Early insight often feels lonely because confirmation has not yet arrived. Now confirmation has appeared without needing your involvement, without your defense, without your explanation. That is divine timing working in your favor.